Hi guys! So this video is going to be your math video. And this week for math, I know you guys have 3 different iReady assignments that you'll need to do. Um, I hope the iReady math is going okay for you. If it's not, please feel free to reach out to me and I would love to videotape a specific lesson for you or a skill for you. They don't let us use the Zoom, but I'm happy to videotape something that's just for you if you need it. I personally think that iReady math is a little bit easier than the Eureka math that we were doing. And I know this topic with the bar graphs and the picture graphs we haven't covered yet. So I'm happy to be making a video for you that will hopefully spell a couple things out for you. So these are your 3 lessons that you have this week: bar graphs, picture graphs, and then the break apart. This video is going to be talking about both graphs. So the picture graphs and the bar graphs. The multiplication video is going to be a shorter separate one just because I think it's too much to go back and forth. So we're doing the graphs in this video and then the multiplication in the other one in case you need it. So for this, I'm going to start with the bar graphs. The bar graphs. And I'm actually going to start with this screenshot of the lesson first. I'm not going to be giving you answers, but I did kind of like a freeze frame of certain questions that I think will be helpful for you to see and for me to explain. So this is on the quiz. This is the quiz part. And it does ask you for the scale of the bar graph. So when you're looking at bar graphs, it's important for you to know that the bar can go left to right like this. And it does have the numbers right here at the bottom that tell you what it measures at. So you'll just find right where it measures, and that will tell you the value. So in this case, Elaine has had 4 jumps. Garcia has had 8 jumps. But the bars can also go this way, which is top to bottom. Whoops. I think I clicked the wrong thing.
There's a lot you can learn.
Yes, I clicked the wrong thing. Give me 1 second until it pauses. Let me pause that. Okay, so the bars can also go up and down like this. So it's important to know that the bars, no matter which way it goes, they will be measuring a certain number. And you'll have to read that. So as far as the scale goes, and if you hear Mila crying in the back, she's trying to take her nap right now. So as far as the scale goes, a scale is the number in between each interval. So an interval is every time you see a number, that's called an interval. The scale tells me what I'm going up by each time. So is this number counting by 5s? Is this number counting by 1s? Is this number counting by 10s, by 2s? In this case, it is counting by 2s. So you would say that the scale is 2 because it's jumping up down here no matter what the bars say. Don't even look at the bars when it's talking about scale. Doesn't even matter what the bars say. You're just looking at the given numbers that are there. So in this case, the scale of this one is jumping up by 10 each time, as you can see. So the scale is just the given numbers at the bottom and what it's jumping up by. So I wanted to show you that so that you can understand scale. I'll go ahead and X that one out. The next one, let's go back to this quiz is going to be asking you how many more and how many less. So animal they wanted. That is going to be something that is just similar to like we did in math class. How many more and how many less is actually going to be a subtraction problem. So I made a little chart for you. You can freeze it here if you want. So if you have a number or a question that's asking you how many more, in this case, how many more, let me see if I have one saved. How many more students played in the dunk tank than the duck pond? So you're going to go to the dunk tank and the duck pond are the 2 numbers that you're going to need to record in order to solve this problem. So whenever it says how many more or how many less, we'll start with how many more. You are going to need 2 numbers in order to do the subtraction problem. So you take the bigger number minus the little number, and that tells you how much is in between those 2 numbers. That is the difference. Just like you've done in 2nd grade, the difference is the subtraction. So when it says how many more, they want to know what is this jump right here? What is the gap dunk tank looks like, and this is a really good one for me to stop on because it's not at the 40 and it's not at the 50. It's actually right in between. So you need to take that scale and break it in half. Our scale is jumping by 10 each time. So what is halfway between this jump? Halfway between 40 and 50? Well, it would be 45. It's halfway between the two. So the dunk tank is 45. The duck pond is halfway between 20 and 30, which is 25 right there. So I'm subtracting the two, 45 minus 25. So if it says how many more, I have two numbers, the high number, 45, the low number, 25, and I just want to know the difference. Same thing for how many fewer. If it says how many fewer did students played at the duck pond than the dunk tank, you're still figuring out the jump in between the two numbers. Whether it says how many more or how many less, it still wants to know how much is in between those two numbers. So hopefully that makes sense. So whenever you see how many more, you're going to need the two numbers and you'll have to subtract. For how many less, in this case, I think there was one that said how many less. Oh, and this one, it does not. So this is another type of question it could ask. How many reptiles are in the exhibit? So in this case, there are two animals that both count as reptiles, crocodile and iguana. So if I want to know reptiles altogether, the word altogether, and I kind of had a typo. I spelled it wrong, but it does say altogether. It means everything, altogether, everything. So you're adding for altogether. Altogether is add. Think A, altogether, add. In this case, you would add up these two, crocodile and iguana. Looks like iguana has 12. That's a reptile. And the crocodile had 6. So 12 plus 6 is 18. I type it in, I click done, I move to the next one.
Now compare the number of birds to the number of reptiles.
So now it's going to ask me to compare. When you're comparing
how many more birds than reptiles are in the exhibit?
When you're comparing on a bar graph, it's the same thing. How many more? So we just went over this. I need my big number and I need my little number. And I'm just going to subtract. 24 minus 18 is, you can count, you can do mental math. It is 6. So I'm going to put a 6 there. And I will click done. So those are the biggest skills that you'll need for the bar graphs and picture graphs is how many more and how many less. You need to know the difference in between. Just think like a number line. I want to know what's the difference on the number line. I have to subtract the two numbers to figure out whether it's how many more was this one than this one, or how many less was this one than this one. I have to know how far apart they are. Just like if I said, how many more bracelets do I have than my mom? I will have to figure out how many do I have, how many does my mom have, and what's the difference between the two. So I just want to know the difference, which is a subtraction problem. Just like how many fewer, how many more, both of them. All together, add it up. All together, add it up. The last part I want to show you is for the picture graphs, and I'll X out of the bar graphs. Just like it's very similar to bar graphs, like I'm sure you've seen. So these represent values. So you can tell just by looking at the picture which one has the most, the least, what the difference is. But do yourself a favor and do not skip over this key. This key is huge. The bar graph or picture graph key tells you how much each picture represents. So in this case, the waves represent 5. But in this case, the books represent 10. So I would get totally different answers if I did not check that key. So make sure you're checking the key. In this case, I'm counting by 5s each time because it says each wave equals 5. So I know just by looking at it who had the most waves. And it looks like Cameron did. But I'm pretty sure the next question is going to be how many? So Cam here, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I have to count by 5s because that's what each wave represents. Each wave represents 5. So I know that Cam got the most. So I'm going to click Cam. And this is still the instruction piece. And then I'll ask for the fewest. And I'm pretty sure that you can guess it would be Fernando because it looks like he just has one little wave, which stands for 5. So he got the fewest.
Let's compare Cam to Fernando. Look at the graph.
Now we're going to compare, which is the part I wanted to get
How many more
to.
pictures are there for Cam than Fernando?
It's asking how many more. Once again, how many more is subtraction problem. So I have Cam and I have Fernando. I can't just subtract. I can't just count them really. This says how many more pictures. So I don't actually have to count the number of waves. They saved you a step. If they did, then I would have to count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And then also 5, 25 minus 5. It doesn't ask me how many more waves. It just says how many more pictures. So this picture, there are 5 pictures here and 1 picture here. 5 minus 1 is 4. So there's 4 more pictures for Cam than there is for Fernando. So it's a little bit, now they're asking about the waves. So in this case, it is 25 minus the 5, which is 20. So hopefully that makes sense to you. For this one, I'll go ahead and X out of that.
How many fewer ways?
So then how many fewer? Same thing as how many more, you just subtract. Make sure you're reading very, very carefully. In this case, the picture represents 10. So each book picture is 10 books. So it says how many Red Crow books were sold. I'll go to Red Crow and I'll count by 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. In this case, it's 50. And this is on the quiz. So you'll need to just remember that each picture represents a certain number. A fun fact for you is if there's ever a half, just like we did half on the bar graph, you go half of the scale. So in this case, really, the scale is 10. The scale is whatever the key is. And so this one's jumping by 10 each time. So 10, 20, 30. But if I had a half book here, I would need to split this key in half. And I did a little helpful tool last week in our learning skill builders. I made this little chart for you. And I just said that the scale means what does the number jump up by. And then I said also, I thought I did that. Oh yeah, picture graph here. Remember to look for a graph key, and then each pencil in this case stands for 2, but a half pencil like this would be half of whatever the key is. So what's half of 2? Half of 2 is 1. So in this case, if there was a half of a book, it would represent 5 because 5 is half of 10. So hopefully that helps clear up some of the questions for you with the picture books and the bar graphs. I'm sorry, the picture graph and the bar graph. And I will do a separate video for the multiplication. Hopefully this helps. If you guys have any further questions, please let me know. And that was your mini lesson for math. Good luck. I know you guys are doing great, and I will see you guys in the next video.